home again. They had a good rest on top of Greendale Hill and ate some of their sandwiches. They saw some water hens on the tarn and 2 kestrels hovering overhead. Some of George's sheep tried to steal their sandwiches, but it was too cold and windy to stay long. "It's time we were on our way home," said Pat. It was easy walking going down the hill. "We'll take this path," said Pat, looking at the map. "It goes past Lanehead Cottage, so watch out for Mrs. Bagenal's goats. They chased me right across the field one time when I came with a parcel." The goats were there all right, so they climbed over the fence and went down the other side, along the edge of a potato field. They got very muddy feet, but the goats couldn't get at them. Another mile or 2 and they came to Black Moss Cottage, where Ted Glen lived. Ted was digging the garden. They stopped for a chat, and Ted gave them an apple each. "They'll help keep your strength up," he said. When they came to the road, there was the tinkle of a bell, and along came Miss Hubbard on her bicycle. "Hello, everybody," she called. "Have you walked far?" When they told her, she raised her eyebrows and said, "Well done, keep it up," and wobbled away down the road. "Is it far?" said Julian. "We can head for the canal," said Pat, "and that will lead us almost all the way home." "But is it far?" said Julian. "I have a sore toe." "So have I," said Sarah. "Well, I don't think it's very far now," said Pat. "Not more than 5 miles. 5 miles? said Julian. "Oh, we can't walk as far as that," said Sarah. "We have sore feet." Oh dear, Pat thought it might be more than 5 miles, but he dare not tell them. His own feet were getting sore too. What could they do? They were all beginning to hobble a little, and they were walking more and more slowly. If it began to get dark, they would be in a real old mess. "Now, let's see," said Pat, getting the map out yet again. "I wonder where we are. I think we're just there. If we are, we should be able to cut across 2 fields, and along that lane, and through that little wood, and come out not far from Granny Dryden's cottage. And if she's in, she'll give us a cup of tea, and we can have a nice rest before we go on." "You and your map," said Sarah. "We don't want to get lost again." "I don't think we will," said Pat. "Just follow me and keep your fingers crossed." Sarah and Julian were not sure at all, but they followed anyway, as they couldn't think of anything else. They cut across the fields where they were chased by some geese. They went through the little wood where the trees caught and scratched at them and tangled their hair, and the brambles and nettles prickled their legs. They went along the little lane, which was deep in smelly green mud that came over the tops of their boots and soaked their feet again. But they did come out by Granny Dryden's cottage, where her pig was snorting and rooting in its part of the garden. Pat knocked at the door. No answer. "Oh dear," said Sarah. "After all that, she's out." Pat knocked again. Still no answer. They were just dragging their feet back down the path when the door opened and they heard a voice saying, "Hello, Pat. Whatever has happened to you? Oh, and Sarah and Julian as well. Dearie me." How glad they were to hear that voice, and better still to undo their bootlaces by the door, wash their hands and faces, and comb their hair, and sit in Granny Dryden's warm parlour with a fresh cup of tea and a slice of fruitcake. It was a long time before they could make Granny Dryden understand that they had not been in an accident, but were only out for a day's walking. "We used to walk for miles and miles when I was a girl," she said. "Do you know, we used to go up Greendale Hill just for an afternoon walk. And then in the evening we would go to the dance at the village hall, as fresh as a daisy. And then we'd have to walk home after the dance. Where did you say you'd been? Greendale Hill. Well, you must have gone a long way round, said Granny Dryden. You young folks, you're not used to walking these days. When they had finished the cake and tea, Pat said, "We'd better be on our way before it gets dark." "Oh, you've plenty of time," said Granny Dryden. But Pat wasn't so sure. Their feet seemed to have grown fatter whilst they were in Granny Dryden's cottage, and it was a struggle to tie their boots up again. As they hobbled slowly down the path, Granny Dryden smiled, shook her head, and made a little tut-tut sound, then gave them a wave. I don't know how they would have got home if they hadn't had another piece of good luck. Sarah and Julian were some distance behind. Just as Pat came to the canal bridge, he smelt smoke, and he heard a chug-chugging sound that he'd heard before. He looked down onto the canal, and there was an old canal boat with its chimney smoking and its engine chugging peacefully along. And at the back, there was Mr. Kennedy steering it. Pat knew Mr. Kennedy because he'd delivered a parcel to him last summer. It was a parcel that Mr. Kennedy badly wanted, and he thought he would never get it, because it's not easy to find a boat that's always on the move. He never did know how Pat had managed to find him, but he'd be glad to do Pat a good turn, so Pat leaned over the bridge and waved. Mr. Kennedy was delighted to see him. "Any chance of a lift?" said Pat. "Certainly," said Mr. Kennedy. "Has your van broken down?" "No, it's Sunday," said Pat. "Oh," said Mr. Kennedy, not understanding. "Well, come aboard. The kettle's on." "There are 3 of us," said Pat. "Plenty of room," said Mr. Kennedy. "All welcome." Then he said something to someone inside the boat. Sarah and Julian were just catching up and moaning about being tired and being made to walk too far. Pat said, "Come on, we're going to sail home." You never saw 2 people so surprised and so pleased. And in 2 minutes they were all in the boat, boots off, feet up on the cushions, and a good smell of fresh coffee in the air. "Make yourselves at home," said Mr. Kennedy, and Mrs. Kennedy popped out of the galley with a plate of hot buttered toast. Never had toast tasted so good. So they sailed home along the Pencaster Canal, resting their stiff and weary legs, listening to the gentle lapping of the water and munching hot toast. They were home just before dark, and when they had all been in a hot bath and were tucked up in bed, they quite forgot how tired they had been, and said what a lovely day they had spent, hiking in Greendale and climbing Greendale Hill. When the music stops, please turn your cassette over.